Hello everyone, welcome to the KZGN News. Today we're bringing news from Assemblywoman Shannon Grove, State Senator Gene Fuller, news from China Lake, gas prices, and much more.
From the Rademacher Hills to Bee Mountain and the mighty Sierras, Ridgecrest to Inyokern and China Lake, this is your news for the Indian Wells Valley with the KZGN News crew.
Thanks for joining us for the news. I'm Tom Whitnick. Here's news affecting Ridgecrest and the Indian Wells Valley. Well, last week we did a story warning everyone about how Sacramento legislature was back in special session called by Governor Brown to consider tax hikes. Well, it turns out there is even more going on than we reported. In news from Sacramento, we get this special report from Assemblywoman Shannon Grove's office. She says, "We are nearing the end of summer, which means that we are in the home stretch of the 2015 legislative session. But this does not mean that things are slowing down in Sacramento. The let's put more laws on everyone attitude of our state capitol is in full swing. Democrats miss no opportunity to pass their pet projects, and the end of the session is the perfect opportunity. You can expect to see plenty of efforts made to pass bills that will further hurt job creation in California and attempts to sneak unpopular legislation through at the last minute. Let me give you a preview of coming attractions. To begin with, there are a number of job-killing bills on the agenda in these final weeks. Senate Bill 32 would massively expand California's cap-and-trade program, forcing businesses to pay even more for their carbon assets. Senate Bill 350 would cut carbon even further by mandating in 15 years the following: a 50% reduction in petroleum use, more stringent energy-efficient buildings, and require 50% of our electricity to come from so-called but highly subsidized renewable sources. These carbon reduction programs have been sold to the public as a way to save the earth from global warming disaster. But these programs only promise to cut a tiny fraction of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere at great expense only to those who live in California. There is absolutely no evidence that the billions of your dollars spent on these programs will reduce carbon enough to cool the planet and justify their expense. In reality, these proposals are an excuse to increase our taxes so politicians can use money to create more new government programs and employees. Additional new taxes are also being proposed by the majority party, especially in relation to roads. California has $59 billion worth of long overdue maintenance on roads and bridges. The governor has called a special session of the legislature to find another way to fund these repairs. One Democrat senator has proposed increasing taxes on gasoline by 12 cents per gallon and on diesel 22 cents per gallon, with those taxes increasing every year based on inflation. On top of this, there would be a $70 increase to everyone's annual vehicle registration fee, and then an additional $100 annual tax for owners of zero-emission vehicles. California's gas taxes are already higher than most any other state in the nation, and with the federal taxes, we pay 72 cents on every gallon of gas we buy. How do they expect Californians to bear this additional burden when they fill up their tank or renew their vehicles? On top of this state is flushed with new money. This year's record state budget has $7.5 billion more than last year, mainly because they squeezed through a tax increase on all Californians last November. It is ridiculous that Democrats still think the only way to maintain our roads is to demand more money from the drivers. Those of us in the GOP and the Assembly have proposed this 9-point plan to fund $6 billion in road repairs using existing resources without raising one dime of new taxes. The majority of Democrats refuse to consider any plan that doesn't include tax hikes. The end of session is also the time when political gimmicks flourish. Take Senate Bill 128, which would have allowed doctor-assisted suicide in California. It didn't pass its committee vote earlier this year. Now the bill is being resurrected, renamed, and taken to a different committee as part of the special session. A healthcare special session is supposed to focus on how to provide health care to the needy, but it is instead being used to ram through legislation that couldn't pass earlier this year. Another popular end-of-session trick is to cut and amend bills. This means taking a bill that has already passed committee, deleting its contents, and replacing it with the text of another bill. This way, controversial bills can bypass committee and go straight to a floor vote. Sometimes the final version of a bill is presented to legislators only minutes before we have to vote on it. This broken process by the state legislature of the largest state in the union is on full display during the end of the legislative session. Slamming through tax increases, Failing to properly use the billions of dollars we have to address the needs of Californians, like repairing highways and roads, building water storage after a 40-plus year hiatus, devoting education dollars to quality schooling and teaching, and using tricks to pass unpopular legislation is evidence that our state capital is not working for the people. As your lawmaker, I will vote to represent your needs in Sacramento and make your voice heard, and I plan to do it without raising your taxes. That was from Shamon Grove. In more news from our representatives in Sacramento, we get this announcement from Gene Fuller's office. Yesterday, Senate Republicans decided to ask Senator Gene Fuller, Republican out of Bakersfield, to move into the role of Senate Republican leader effective immediately. Senator Fuller was elected to be the next leader in February of 2015 with unanimous support. Today, the caucus members moved the date up from November 1st. Senator Fuller will become the Senate's first woman Republican leader in California's history. She said, "I'm humbled to have the support and confidence of my colleagues. Senator Gene Fuller, it is my privilege and honor to serve in these challenging times. My commitment to California families is unwavering." Senator Fuller replaces Senator Bob Huff and thanked him for his leadership and his service. And Congressman McCarthy issued the following statement on State Senator Gene Fuller officially becoming the new Republican leader in the California State Senate. "I am proud of my friend Gene. The California Senate will be well served under her leadership, and California's future will absolutely be brighter as a result. I know Senator Fuller will bring the blue-collar attitude that is ingrained in the Central Valley to this leadership position, and will fight for a freer and more prosperous California. With Senator Fuller leading Republicans in the Senate and Kristen Olson leading in the Assembly, Californians are fortunate to have two leaders that will fight for our Republican vision of prosperity, freedom, and economic growth. Solutions that stand in sharp contrast to the same failed big government ideas currently bogging down Sacramento." That was a statement from Congressman Kevin McCarthy. In news from the Kern County Sheriff's Office, they have released a report on the findings of the officer-involved shooting in Kelso Valley. After an investigation, the Sheriff's Office has determined the officer-involved shooting by members of the Kern County Sheriff's SWAT team in Kelso Valley was justified and within department guidelines. The shooting involved sheriff's deputies attempting to arrest Benjamin Ashley a couple weeks ago after he was determined to be the suspect of a kidnapping and murder. 2 deputies were wounded during the shooting. Those officers are recovering from their injuries and will return to their regular duties. Well, next Wednesday, the City Council will hold their regular meeting. Here's a quick overview of the agenda. For presentations, the Council will present a proclamation to the Daughters of the American Revolution, Panama Springs Chapter, recognizing September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week. Next, there will be a presentation from the City of Ridgecrest Economic Development Program Director, Gary Parsons. On the consent calendar, the Council will take up authorization to award a construction contract to Griffith Company for the construction of street repairs and improvements on existing roadways, which include Richmond Road between Upjohn and East Ridgecrest Boulevard, Bowman Road between Downs and Primrose, and West Raider between Nevada Court and South Downs. Then they'll consider awarding a design and construction management contract to Wildan Engineering for CDBG project and ADA ramps at various intersections. Next, they'll consider authorizing the filing of an application for Regional Surface Transportation Project funding. They'll have to be committing the necessary local matching and stating the assurance to complete the project by the City of Ridgecrest. Then they'll consider authorizing the filing of an application for congestion mitigation air quality funding, committing necessary local matching and stating the assurance to complete the projects by the City of Ridgecrest. In the next segment of the meeting, Council will discuss these items. First, they'll consider approving a resolution instating a hiring freeze for the remainder of fiscal year 2015-16. Then they'll consider approving the expenditure of Parks and Recreation impact fees for capital improvements to Leroy Jackson Park in the amount of $31,000. Next, they'll consider approving a resolution for the reallocation of $350,000 of tax allocation bonds, or TAB funds, from the Economic Development allocation to Public Works street improvements. Then they'll consider a resolution approving a redevelopment agency payment plan for 2015-2016. In the discussion and other action items part of the agenda, the Council will hold a discussion considering changing the agenda format for City Council meetings. There are a lot of details on a few of these items the public should be aware of. These agenda items I'll cover in more detail next Monday and Tuesday. In the city poll we are running at KZGN, yesterday we reported the Planning Commission approved and forwarded to the City Council a change to the Ridgecrest Municipal Code that would allow certain farm animals like fowl and chickens in the smallest residential lots in Ridgecrest. Mayor Breeden has requested inputs from the public about this proposal. If you would like to comment on this, we have added a thread to the KZGN News Discussion Facebook group for you to comment. Just sign on to Facebook and search for the KZGN Discussion group. Or just let the mayor or any council person know your thoughts on chickens in residential neighborhoods. In news from the China Lake Weapons Division, Stacy Bailey from the NOC-WD Public Affairs Office provides this story. 56 Naval Air Warfare Center Weapons Division employees were honored for their completion of Project Management 101 during a ceremony at China Lake on August 20th. The ceremony opened with PM 101 champion and Naval Air Systems Command Threat Target Systems Department Director Rich Burr, commending them for their accomplishment. Welcome, graduates, and congratulations on your accomplishment, Burr said. Project management is a discipline. It has rigor and it has standard practices that are recognized worldwide. If you're a disciple of that practice, you have been trained to do this. So if you see something that needs improving, speak up. The command-sponsored program, which is in its 4th year, provides broad coverage of the key knowledge and skills needed to manage projects while providing each participant with the tools to successfully plan and control projects. Their curriculum includes team leadership skills, basic project management, financial for project managers, procurement for project managers, project planning, scheduling, and evaluation, and leader under stress. Featured speaker, Naval Air Weapons and Energetics Director Joan Johnson shared Burr's sentiments in encouraging employees to use the knowledge they've gained by actively participating in the growth of NOC-WD. I encourage you to take what you have learned and go put it into practice, Johnson said. You'll find that those skills serve you well in your current job and in many other endeavors that you take on while you're here at the Weapons Division. As a graduate, you are in demand, so take advantage of that. Now, in case of GN's continuous effort to provide news and information you've asked for, here are today's gas prices for Ridgecrest and some surrounding areas. Well, since my last report on Wednesday, the good news is gas prices continue a slow decrease. As of this morning, Ridgecrest is ranging from $3.25 to $3.69. Lancaster is ranging from $3.29 to $3.79. The LA Valley area is $3.33 to $3.59, and Bishop area is going from $3.72 to $3.89 per gallon. We have one station coming in at the $3.25 figure. Tune in Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for updates. We at KZGN always suggest you shop locally to support our local economy. Remember, when you pay sales tax out of town, you're helping those cities pave their streets instead of here. Now, stay tuned for weather and sports when we come back. Thanks for staying with us. Let's go to Keith for the weather.
Thank you, Tom. From the National Weather Service, a storm system moving across the central U.S. will bring showers and thunderstorms to parts of the Midwest, with possibility of heavy rains and flash flooding for some locations. Temperatures across the nation. Carolinas came in at 80 degrees, Georgia 73, Arkansas 76, Colorado 70, Arizona 86, and Los Angeles at 76. And for our forecast in the IWV, tonight, mostly clear with a low around 73, west-southwest wind 10 to 15 miles per hour. Saturday, sunny and hot with a high near 101, breezy, west wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. Saturday night, partly cloudy with a low around 70, west-southwest wind 10 to 20 miles per hour. Sunday, mostly sunny with a high near 98, south-southwest wind 10 miles per hour with gusts as high as 15. Sunday night, mostly clear with a low around 67, west-southwest wind 10 to 20 miles per hour. Monday, sunny with a high near 99, west wind 5 miles per hour. Monday night, mostly clear with a low around 67, west-southwest wind 5 to 10 miles per hour with gusts as high as 15. And today's record high was set in 2001 at 111 degrees. The record low was set in 1991 at 52 degrees. And that is your forecast for the IWV. Now back to Tom and the rest of the KZGN News.
Thanks, Keith. Now let's go with Tom Heck with sports.
And a very pleasant Friday afternoon to everyone. Start with Burroughs football. The freshman team at Burroughs lost their first game of the season yesterday. They played a very good Palmdale team at home. JV's also in action. They dropped a close game to Palmdale also. Now tonight, Friday night, it's going to be Burroughs football, the varsity at 7 o'clock against a very good Palmdale Falcon team. If you can't get out to the game, you can tune in on KLOA 1240 AM, and they'll have the pregame at about 6:45. Now last night on the coaches show, Todd Mather had a lot of good positive things to say about his lower level teams and how they're performing so far in practice and also after their first game. He also had praise for a lot of his returning seniors and juniors with their good leadership, and he expects tonight to have a pretty good game with Palmdale. Pretty good meaning he thinks it's going to be competitive. He said some of the keys are no turnovers, getting off to a good start, and not panicking when things go wrong. So Todd Mather, a very good offensive coach. He's a very good all-around football coach, and he has been with the program for quite a long time, 5 years now as a head coach, but he was also here for a long time as an assistant coach, also played for Burroughs, and then played in college. So we'll see what happens tonight. Opening game next week to Hatchapee. This should be the toughest game of the season, in my opinion. Palmdale always very, very good, well coached, and has a lot of good athletes. So hard to believe football season here already. Well, hard to believe that baseball season winding down, just over a month left. A lot of very interesting wild card races, especially in the American League. Yesterday, the Angels defeated Detroit 2-0. They end up winning 2 of 3 games in the Motor City. The Angels tonight will be over in Cleveland. Angels right in the hunt for a wild card, and also 5.5 games behind Houston for first place. The Dodgers beat the Reds again, 1-0. They swept Cincinnati. They win all 3 games. Tonight the Dodgers are at home to play the Chicago Cubs, a surprise team of baseball. The Cubs, 20 games over 500. Unbelievable. Joe Madden done a great job there. St. Louis wins again. What's new? Best record in baseball. They beat the Diamondbacks. Chicago a winner. The White Sox beat Seattle. Pittsburgh over Miami. The Pirates easily will make a wild card along with the Cubs, so the National League pretty well cinched up there as far as the wild card goes. The Mets over Philadelphia. The Mets now 15 games over 500. They had 16 hits and a 9-5 win against Philadelphia. Boy, the Mets have been red hot also. Washington gets a win. Washington is trying to hang in there. They're 6.5 back of the Mets. But again, the wild cards are not going to come from the East. So you're going to have to flat out win that, as you are the West with the Dodgers and Giants. The Dodgers have a 2.5 game lead over San Francisco. Now, San Francisco yesterday did beat the Cubs. They salvaged 1 of the 3 games. And Kansas City beats Baltimore. Baltimore has lost 9 of 11 games. The Texas Rangers defeated Toronto. Toronto wins 2 of 3 in the series, but Texas only 5 back in the National League West. And right there with a wild card along with Minnesota. Looking at the East, Toronto a 1.5 game lead over the Yankees. In the Central, Royals have run away with it. In the West, the Astros a 5-game lead over Texas, 5.5 over the Angels. The Mets 6.5 over Washington. St. Louis 4.5 over Pittsburgh in the Central. And the Dodgers 2.5 over San Francisco in the West. Seattle fired their general manager yesterday, Zach Zerenciak. He had been there 7 years. Seattle, probably Lloyd McClendon, their manager, disappointed. Been a very tough year for the Mariners. Expected to do a lot better. Didn't do so well. That's your sports for this Friday. Come on out and support Burroughs tonight. This is Tom Heck bidding you a very pleasant good weekend.
So that's the news for today. Off the KZGN-TV, know you have a choice in what you watch for your news. We all thank you for choosing KZGN-TV, Ridgecrest's only locally owned community TV station. And stay with us for Ridgecrest Talk, coming up next.